Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Tonight we have episode 2 of the PV podcast. Tonight's episode is going to be about our experiences and opinions on the PvP changes in patch 3.5. With me for this episode, I've got Chia Chia from Elysium on the Gilgamesh server Aether Data Center, and I also have Tiramisu Macaroon from Primal. And actually, dude, I don't even know what server you're from. Excalibur?
Excalibur.
That's it. We were gonna have Egg with us tonight from Chaos to have some EU representation as well, but unfortunately his internet's acting up, so he won't be able to make it. Um, I told him to let me know if he can get in halfway through the show, and we could bring him in. But without further ado, if you guys want to introduce yourselves, just tell us who you are and what your experience is in PvP in the past, and then we can get into the discussion.
Well, hi, I'm Chia Chia of Elysium of Gilgamesh, as King said. I've been PvPing since the original Wolves Den, uh, and have been doing it pretty steadily and done all the PvP modes for the last 3 years.
Hey, I guess you're done. I'm Tiramisu Macaron from Excalibur. I didn't start playing the game until 2.5, and I didn't start playing PvP until Feast Season 2, but I kind of came out of nowhere and played it pretty hard. I kind of play every role too, on like whenever. I just pop queues. I just like to play. I don't care about rating or anything, but yeah,
What a cool guy.
I don't even care about
sometimes.
my rating.
And
I don't care about my
I just
rating
pop
unless someone throws in the last 2 seconds. Then I care about my rating.
All right, cool. So thanks guys for coming out. And yeah, so the topics we're going to talk about today is all the changes. And I guess for people that maybe don't know or just don't have the full collection, we're going to be talking about the freelancer system or, the state of frontlines right now in general. We're going to talk a little bit about the Garo event. We're going to talk about the chat restriction, of course. And then to build off of that, sort of the state of the feast right now with those chat restrictions in place. If we have some time, we're going to talk about a couple different one-off topics towards the end of the show. But the place I want to start off, and I think the place that affects the most people, and it's definitely been the most popular, is the freelance system. So Chia, we can start with you. What has been your experience this patch in Frontlines? If you want to
well,
talk about it a little bit.
uh, along with the freelance system, the cross-server party finder that comes with it is also fantastic. Suddenly, you have a whole bunch of people who just did want PvP, having a lot more avenue to PvP because of the Grand Company restrictions, and a lot more people who do already PvP play with each other for the first time. Like in the first day of the Crossfire Prayer Finder, I teamed up with Balmung players for the first time ever. It was really fun. So A plus on both accounts. I'm super happy that it's finally here after 3 years of GC restrictions. And I really hope that in the future, whenever SE introduces new content that's similar to Frontlines, that they keep the sort of open-ended, no restriction sort of thing in mind because it's worked out wonderfully so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And like to give people an idea, if you're not from Aether or you're not playing Frontlines right now, these queues are popping in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Still.
it's like 3 minutes and it's 3 weeks into the Garo event and it's still going on. And they pop in the middle of the night, like 4 o'clock in the morning. You'll get 8v8s, not 24s, but still, that was a dead time before, and now all of a sudden PvP abounds.
Yeah, and it's the other thing is too, like it's really good for pre-mades because like you're saying, if you want to pre-made with people from other data centers, other GCs, when you queue in now, it's you don't have that GC lock that sort of just clogs up the queue with your pre-made.
Yeah,
So
it's
even
it's
with
like,
the full pre-made, you just get right in.
and you don't know where the pre-made's gonna land because usually, oh, it's the Flames pre-made or the Maelstrom pre-made or whatever. Because now it's just, hey, there could be pre-mades on every side or three pre-mades on one side, and it doesn't really matter because, oh, it matters obviously on who's going to win, but it doesn't matter what GC you are, or hey, you have to tactically switch GCs every 2 weeks to follow around the pre-mates.
Yeah, tacking onto that pre-made issue, on Excalibur or even on Primal, the top pre-made is probably Maelstrom, and I was never part of Maelstrom. And since I came into PvP so late, I didn't want to lose my level 50 PvP rank and lose all my feast matches. So I really never PvP'd with the pre-made pre 3.5, and I just have to say, like, Frontlines before, I always thought was like pretty boring and pretty bland, and I'm like whatever. But like I'm having way more fun with it this patch. Like being able to go with people across server, being able to go with people on my own server I've never been able to play with. Beforehand, it was just like something I never did, and now it's like once in a while I'm like, oh, I might as well just play a random Frontline game, pass queue, play with friends, have fun. I hope
Also,
like
go ahead.
oh, I said I hope SE really like sees that like this is a huge change, and the players were asking for it for so long, and they're like, man, maybe our player base does know something.
The other thing that I really like about this whole Frontlines thing, which is all great, is that you finally get to go back to Seal Rock. Finally, after
Yeah.
months of Shatter. Shatter, it's fun, like it's cool and it's nice to do, but Seal Rock is the superior game mode in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think anyone will argue that. It doesn't pop as fast on Primal, but they still pop if you just wait for Seal Rock. Unfortunately, we're not blessed with less than 5 minute Seal Rock times because most of the people are new Gara people and less PvP veterans who are in it.
Yeah, plus a lot of the people they figure if they're gonna do the fast front lines, they want the white ADS.
Yeah, that's true too. But uh, still, Seal Rock is much more popular than it was just a few weeks ago.
Oh, absolutely. It's just funny to touch on that, like the difference between the two, like playing them back to back. I mean, obviously when Shatter came out, I knew like of course this game mode sucks compared to Seal Rock, right? But now getting to play them back to back, like the pace of the match is just so night and day. Like if you go into Seal Rock with your pre-made, you're going in there, you were just constantly killing
There's
over and
always
over and
something to
over.
do.
Like you're
Always
just
something to do.
the train with no brakes, you know? And then you get into Shatter and it's like, okay, we killed the ice. When's the next ice spawn? Oh, 2 minutes? All right, go sit in our choke point near our base and just wait it
Yeah,
out.
that's by far the worst aspect of Seal or Shatter rather is you just have to wait for minutes on it, and that's the optimal strategy. The optimal strategy is to not do anything. So that's obviously something that needs to be looked at for future frontlines.
Yeah, I mean, it's really the only, like you said, it's the optimal strategy. I feel like it's really the only strategy you can do because the only like alternative strategy I can think of that doesn't completely fuck you over. Because like of course like if you push into the middle into one of the other teams to continue
You're gonna get
fighting,
flanked.
you're
You're
gonna get
gonna get flanked.
sandwiched. So like you could like pull out and go like the far way around and try to like sandwich somebody else from like
But
their
that
base, you know?
takes for if you have a full pre-made like full 24 people in there for sure. That's probably a better play.
Yeah.
But
Good luck getting
getting
24 pre-made
yeah,
though.
getting 16 other people aside from your pre-made to follow you, it's a nightmare.
Yeah,
I
so
have to say that I never play Shatter optimally, and I just go around with my pocket healer and try to get as much kills as possible. And I don't even care about the game mode. Like I ended like thousands of games with zero ice. Well, I haven't even played thousands of games, but zero damage to ice.
I
Never.
was hoping I was hoping that they'd do uh like Seal Rock or Shatter, but Slaughter mode because they did Secure and then they switched to Slaughter. Slaughter was fantastic. You just killed people for 15 minutes straight. It was the greatest mode of all time.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of improvements that could be made to Shatter that they promised they would make, but then they kind of dropped the ball, which is
Well,
unfortunate.
they did improve it massively because before when it was an 1800, 2000, I think 1800 uh maximum cap, the last 3 minutes of the game was just a double team every time.
yep.
You would just get if you were winning, you would just get stopped by both teams and just get tunneled so hard, and it was just never fun. So
See,
they did improve it that way.
that old way I think had its pros and cons because it sucked for the winning team, and I do think at the end of the day you're right, it needed to be changed because if you won the whole game and got to that point, you should win. But there was a game, and I actually have the match. One of my friends had the match recorded, like the clip of the end of it, where we had like an 800 point deficit and came back and won the game just from farming kills.
Yeah, see, that's a one-off thing, and the other 99% of the time it's just okay. Both teams stats stood in our base and a random team won.
Yep.
Like it's just not exciting, especially like when I was pre-mating it or you know just doing it casually. Either way, if I was doing callouts or trying to command the game, it was so frustrating for me personally that I just put all this effort in, but the game mode just doesn't allow for the maximum amount of points from ice to win with it. Anyway, I don't like it. I never liked it when both teams double teamed you after a commanding lead, but I can see the influence or the appeal of a really big comeback victory that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, I just don't like the three-way team PvP.
They said
Yeah,
they're getting
it's a
rid of it.
mistake.
The frontline dichotomy of each GC, they said they're removing in 4.0
Yep.
because they want a more 1v1 or whatever mode they want.
Do you think we'll hear about that at FanFest in a
I
week or
I
two?
hope they I hope they spoil something. I hope it's a siege type. If anyone's ever played Guild Wars 2,
Oh yeah.
capture the Citadel or whatever, that would be really cool. But I'm happy for anything new.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm predicting capture the flag. That just seems like
Yeah,
the most simplistic, easy, replayable thing that they could do.
yeah, no, capture
Hopefully,
the
it's just
flag
a
would.
start.
Yeah, if anyone's played Warsong Gulch, that's a old classic, and I think a lot of people would be happy to see something like that in Final Fantasy. I know I would.
Oh, absolutely. So actually, to round out the frontlines discussion, Natira, are you having the same experience as Aether is on Primal, or are frontlines just like popping back to back to back?
Yeah. I think you said earlier that Shatter is popping back to back to back super quick. Pre-made of 8, you just pop. Seal Rock is a little slower. You have to not check Shatter and Seal Rock. You have to just check Seal Rock, and sometimes it'll take 10 minutes. I know I've heard from like Miu that on Aether it's like 2 minutes, which is I'm a little jealous of, I have to say, because I'd much rather play Seal Rock. But
Just
yeah,
wait.
even at night you can get games. It's ridiculous. It's all the time.
I think the big impetus for this was on one of our next topics is the event.
Yeah, yeah. So, Chia, you could take
That's
this one away, but
uh, uh,
why is it so popular right now?
dude. The event, the Garo event, is probably my favorite event they've ever put in the game. It's such a huge boost to popularity of PvP that people who've never PvP'd or just never even tried it are now doing it all the time. They're like logging in and like, hey, I want to do frontlines. And I'm like, wow, I've never seen you frontlines before. And they're like, yeah, I want this new armor. And it's a big grind to get all the armor sets, so it really keeps people interested for a long time. So I really appreciate that SE did this big, huge event with custom armor sets and titles and mounts and everything, because it really revitalized PvP, at least on the Gilgamesh community.
Yeah, even coming from Primal, I have to say, like, there's so many people that I know in the game that have never touched PvP before, have always thought it was like a joke, but like now they just queue up and they have fun. And like, I'm pretty sure they're going to continue doing it after Garo. They're asking me for like tips on Feast, how to do rotations, like how to play. And it's just great that like it made people try PvP and not just like take the ignorant criticism that people shove out to it every once in a while.
This morning, maybe like less than 2 hours ago, I saw someone in the C chat just say, looking for more front lines, and I just saw 6 or 7 people X up immediately. I was like, wow, that's never happened before, and I've been in this FC for 2 years.
Yeah, who would have thought that PvP was actually fun and all it needed was some incentives and a faster queue?
The queue thing is a big deal. Like no one wants to sit in queue for 40 minutes and then get a 10-minute game and then sit in queue for 4 minutes again. And a big deal of that was, of course, the GCs. But another big deal was that there just wasn't enough people. Even with the GC's balance, there wasn't enough people to keep queues popping.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think this is a good trend that they should keep up with in terms of incentives. I feel like having, when a new PvP feature is released, I think it should always be paired with some sort of, or two types of rewards. One is the one that you can grind currency for. Win or lose, you can always progress through it. I also like the theme of sort of the over-the-top armor for PvP. I feel like that like it just fits really well because this game comparatively to other MMOs really doesn't have a lot of over-the-top gear. So I feel like having that little niche of design in PvP is sort of like a good fit.
Yeah, but the thing that this event I think did more than any other is because there was a whole bunch of stuff tied to it, like 3 mounts, like 9 armor sets. It got new people into it, and that's what the PvP scene needed. It just needed new people because you have the old standbys who PvP for years now, and they keep PvPing, and they're gonna keep PvPing no matter what. But new blood is always needed. So hopefully this event keeps the queues going till Stormblood, and then when Stormblood PvP comes out, they'll have another big rush of content or rewards that'll keep the queues going.
Yeah, you mentioned like 3 mounts there, and I think that's like a big thing there. Like it's not just 3 mounts, it's 3 obtainable mounts. Like when Frontline's like the original ADS mount, you look at that thing, it's like what 200 wins with the same GC.
That's a lot, yeah.
And the queues took forever. So like, what are you gonna sit in queue and have 200 wins? Like, you just know the time commitment the second you sign up for like, I want normal ADS, 30-minute queues, 10-minute games, and I have to win. But like for these mounts, like 10 Frontline win, like you just have someone play like 30 games, you should get it. But like it's obtainable and the queues are quick, so people are actually gonna try to get it rather than give up after like 2 or 3 losses, like with ADS or white ADS.
Yeah. Plus, it's an anime mount, so everyone loves that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, just to build off of what you said, Tier, like I absolutely agree, and I think a lot of the PvP community has trouble understanding this because when we look at an achievement like the Gloria Ignition Key or the 80 or either of the ADS mounts, it's like, oh, what 200 wins? That's nothing. I'll get that in a month. But for a player that maybe plays PvP like super casually, 200 wins, that could be like a 2-year long achievement for them. And like, I'm sorry, but like people don't. The average player, I'd say the majority, like 99% of the people that play this game, don't have their goals set out that far. They don't play the game and say, hey, I'm going to play this game for 2 years, and this is where I want to be at 2 years from now in this game. It's like,
there was actually a thing on Discord the night that the PvP came out. I recall this vividly. Someone on Reddit posted, hey, you need to win 60 games, 30 feasts, and 10 frontlines. And then someone responded, wow, I'll never get that. And everyone on the Discord was like, but it's so easy, it's so casual. But we weren't looking at it from their point of view. They've never done that before. They've never tried, PvP, and it just seems insurmountable to win 10 games at all.
yeah, I mean that's definitely the way to look at it too. Because I mean, for us, like I personally got all 3 mounts day 1, super quick. Went in. Actually, Chia was with you. We just did 10 frontlines wins back to back to back.
Yeah.
Took like 2 hours or something, and then I just went to 8v8 feast, won every single match to the 60 wins. Like it was ridiculously quick. But most people aren't going to win every match. So the 60, I feel like the 60, I feel like a 100 mark actually would be good for like a regular like seasonal thing.
Sure, but the fact that hopefully not in Stormland, we'll see. But the PvP modes are so far apart from one another. Like Shatter came out 3 months after Seal Rock or whatever, and there's not going to be another PvP mode, or another frontline mode rather, until Stormblood. So you kind of want something super big, in my eyes, to work toward to retain people, bigger than even the ADS, like 1,000 wins or something.
Yeah, I mean, they usually have those for titles, but I don't know if like titles is enough for people. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think titles is enough. I think the thing is with titles is people have to recognize them to really get like the prestige behind it, and the amount of people that care about titles is very, very small.
There was actually, I think it might have been you, King, I'm not sure. Someone put up unique ideas for rewards, like there's minions, there's mounts, there's titles, but like unique death animations when you kill somebody, like they explode or something, or
oh yeah,
they lightning bolt. I thought that was really cool. Like that's something unique. It's not no one has it. Another thing is like emotes, like custom hey, high five emote, or like what are they called? The mentor icons. They have a name.
Yep.
The
crown icons.
The crown icons. Yeah, you could have like one of that. Like if you are super invested into PvP and you've got all these achievements and all these like super hard to get achievements, you get an icon over your head that marks it, and like people will go after that because those are unique things.
Yeah, and those are incentives that are really in your face. Like those are things that people are gonna see that they're gonna be like, holy shit, how do I get that? Where I think like a title doesn't really cover that. But yeah, I agree. I think that there should be a wider variety of rewards just outside of the realm of gear and mounts.
I'm telling you, if they put a hairstyle on PvP, everyone would do it.
Yeah, I would rather not have SE ever make a minion or mount a reward for something hard again. Because it's just the community gets crazy, and then they actually listen to those members of the community, and then we just Like I feel like it's already not worked. So if they were to do it again or like make it some exclusive super hard thing to do, it would just cause like more backlash for them.
Is that
I
is
think
that a
it's
segue into the feast?
well, yeah, but I think like just I think the coolest thing that Stefan had in his post a long time ago, which Chia was referencing, was the unique things within PvP, like getting like a unique limit break animation or something. Like I
That would be
would play
sick. That
PvP
would be
so
sick.
much for that.
A unique LV animation would be fantastic, and all
Yeah, it
PvP
would
modes
be
have it.
insane. Oh yeah, people in chat are saying like housing and stuff, like a wolf's den house or something. Like that'd be
Like a
cool.
wolves that, yeah, a wall. A wolves that, oh man, that would be super cool.
Yeah, stuff like that, where like people who don't play PvP won't like care as much for those long term ones. There's like super long terms one, but like the veterans will be like, oh, those are awesome. I need to have that. So I think that's like the middle ground you need.
So you can tie the mounts, the ADS sort of things to like lower achievements, like Stefan said, and then have the super hard meta. You're grandmaster at all PvP modes. Cool reward, like a unique LB. I just can't imagine having a unique LB. That would be
Dude,
so
it would
cool.
be so awesome. I would tank my rating on Melee all day.
I think like I like where the discussion's going. I like the idea of having those more popular rewards being more easily obtainable. Like I think a good example is this season of the Feast, that mount and that minion. And I said this in my post a while back too that you guys are talking about. I have no problem with the idea of having that mount and that minion available to the public. There just needs to be something put in place for it, you know? I think there does have to be exclusive rewards that are desirable. And then,
I would change if I could change it right now. I would change the mount to a unique LB or something like that in a second. I like the mount is cool. It's like a nice model or whatever, but it's just another mount. It's like there's a trillion of them already in the game. But something that's unique to PvP, something that's only PvPers have, that would be amazing.
And and this is where this goes more of like a fundamental like level 2 with how they've distributed rewards in terms of the tiers. And this has been sort of the trend for all 3 seasons now. I think the top 10 rewards have got to be more desirable than the top 100 moving forward.
Please,
No,
you don't want those beautiful earrings.
I disagree. People will go too far, at least in the system that we have right now, if the top 10 rewards are too valuable or too prestigious. I'm satisfied with, like, right now, the top 100 reward is people feel that it's better than the top 10. And I think that's the way it should be. You want more people to aim for something that's more accessible. So people can say, hey, I can definitely get top 100 and get that mount. But top 10, that's going to be a nightmare for most people. And they're just going to go either drive themselves nuts trying to get, or they're going to resort to unwholesome things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there has to be better policing going on if they're gonna make super awesome rewards for top 10 or number 1. Like right now, it's furniture and a minion that everyone's gonna get. So like people aren't going. Some people are going out of their way to cheat, but not everyone is going out of their way to cheat to get those rewards.
But the earrings themselves, like personally, I would be satisfied with like that is top 10 if they kept it that way. And I've gotten top 10 on solo queue.
I don't want another pair of
2
earrings.
seasons. I just feel that when you have a more accessible reward, but still pretty fucking hard to do for a lot of people, top 100 is not like 1% of 1% of the game's population is going to be able to get top 100 consistently. So that reward, that sort of style reward, should be good, cool, and then top 10 can be just something. Hey, you did really good this season too. Here's something a little bit extra.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think a cool idea that sort of just came into my mind, and I'm actually stealing it from WoW. But if they had the mounts and the minions tied to seasonal win counts, like if the Hellhound was like, for example, win make it like the Glory Ignition key, right? Win 200 games of the Feast in season 3, boom, you get them out.
Oh, that would be good too.
But
Yeah, I agree.
top 100, you get different rewards.
Yeah, there's something, I don't know if we're on the Feast yet, but there's something on Feast that I really wish happened because I don't know if you guys see this on your data center, but there's so many times that people get on the cusp of a ranking. Like they will get diamond and then they will get to like 1920. And if anyone doesn't know, if you get below 1900, you lose diamond. And then that person will stop playing for the rest of the season because they do not want to lose diamond.
See, this is
I think that the highest tier you get to should just be what reward you get, because I think that would make people just like keep playing more. Like people want to sit on the rewards, and it's bad for like the small paladin, or sorry, I was reading something for like the small player base we have.
No, so that concept of people sitting on their rating doesn't just apply to people losing their rating. It's people who have obtained a rating and they just don't ever want to lose it. Like personal experience. Right now I'm like 2400 whatever. I don't want to play. I just don't want to queue. Even if queues were popping, I don't know if they're popping at a diamond rank and gold plus, but I just wouldn't want to queue. I would just sit there and so be it. And that's a problem with the feast itself. There needs to
Yeah,
be some motivation or some penalty or some maybe even bonus to keep queuing because people
yeah.
will just sit on their rating.
Yeah, it sucks on Primal right now because we actually just lost our like best, like two of our best players, like Uncle Acid, who came out of nowhere and is like an absurdly amazing white mage, and Lion, who's probably one of our best monks on Primal. They tied last week. They just happened to tie, and they're the same server. They're like, we're tied, so they're just retired now unless someone catches up to them. So like we just lost like our two best players who like make the games, I would have to say, the most interesting, and it totally sucks. Like it's miserable.
That I hope SE moves forward to either implement some sort of rating decay or you have to play a minimum threshold per week in order to maintain your rating before rating decay takes place. Like you have to play 10 games a week, otherwise your rating starts to decay. So that's what I would like to see. I think that's the most elegant solution. Yes, it kind of sucks that if you go on vacation or whatever, you start losing rating, but the rating cannot doesn't have to be linear. It can be exponential. You lose 5 rating the first week, 25 the next week, etc. So even if you take a long vacation, you can come back and still play.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just want to echo this and sort of bring up both of the ideas that were brought up, and sort of compare them both. So, I guess I'll preface it by saying I agree. I think rating decay is the best solution when the other option that was presented was having your highest achieved rating being your true rating that you're based on for the end of the season. Because the problem with the latter there is that say you push up to for example 2600, right? Well, then you go on a losing streak. Now you drop back down to 1900 or something ridiculous like that. Well, what's now motivating you to try to climb back up to get above where you were before after that losing streak, Or are you just going to
Yeah,
stop and say, whatever, 2600 is my score, I'm done now?
yeah, I think with the thing I was proposing, I think for tiered rewards like placement, those would still be time based, but
Like
like
titles.
yeah, like top 1, top 10, like those would still be like at the end of the season at snapshots, but like the diamond titles and stuff, those would be like based on what your highest was. Because like if you were a diamond at one point, you deserve to be a diamond at the end of the season. Like you got there, and you shouldn't be punished for keeping the play. Like you kept because you kept playing, I guess.
I
But I
mean,
think that like rank 1 and rank 1 through 10, those should still be like you have to get this at the end of the season to keep it.
Should we move into
absolutely.
the big topic about the feast this patch in the chat
Yeah,
removal?
yeah. So
Jesus.
let's transition from incentives to play, rewards and all that. So this for me is probably the second biggest change. I mean, personally, actually, it actually affects me the most out of all these, but I think it's the second biggest change. So the chat restriction in the feast. And even though I'm pretty sure everybody that's listening right now and everybody that's going to listen in the future knows what the hell this is, to catch you up to speed, Square Enix has just shut off the chat whenever you enter into the feast. Uh, I'll let you guys voice your opinions first because I got a lot to say about this. So
So
the way we'll start this, right? Let me know what you think about this generally, and then we're gonna sort of break it down into the three game modes and talk about how it affects each of those game modes individually.
okay, so the obviously it's I don't like it. I understand why it's put in. I feel that it was a bit too knee jerky for my taste, but if SC puts it in and that's the way we have to play around it, I accept it. I just don't like it. The the fact that they put in the quick chat, it's nice. Like yeah, you can do some coordination with it, but the quick chat's also missing stuff like hey, I'm out of mana or whatever. So it's an incomplete system. So it's if they improve it, might be a little bit more palpable for me because really, as all I really say in games is fall back or attack this person. But the
Yeah,
fact
that
that
was a big one.
yeah,
This
the
like
fact that yeah, it's just not an elegant solution to a minor problem. Like, yeah, people will harass each other, but it's it's not that I don't feel that it's that big a deal unless it's really serious, spam harassment that just okay, maybe I should reiterate. Like saying stuff like, "Hey, do more damage to this person" is not harassment, and that's I feel what SC feels that is. Like you're trying to improve people's gameplay by saying, "Hey, attack this person. Hey, stop using this move. Go into grit when you have 4 stacks." Like those sort of comments aren't derogatory, and some people, especially maybe newer people, feel that they're being assaulted with this new information. So in my eyes, that SE needs to realize that these criticisms, while they may be more brash or rude than other criticisms, aren't aren't a root problem of the feast. Stuff like calling people stupid fuckheads or whatever. Yeah, like that might need to be punishable. But other stuff, criticism, I don't feel it's a big deal.
Hi. So yeah, I posted a lot on the forums about this. So yeah, I actually have a big competitive background. I played Counter Strike growing up in the Cal League. I played League of Legends. I actually got to the top 25 in season 2 at one point in League of Legends. So I actually was pretty competitive in it. I'm really against this. SE is trying to make a competitive game mode. They have rankings for this game mode. The rankings update nightly. There are rewards for this ranking, and it's an MMO. It's a team game. Like you don't see basketball players not communicating. You don't see them without a coach. Yes, it's a video game, but it still requires all the fundamental things that any competitive team sport requires, and one of them is communication. So without communication, I really can't take like I understand they added quick chat, like whatever, but I can't take SE seriously in the fact that they say they want this to be competitive if there's no communication because I'm just playing a game with robots half the time now. Like some of my games, I just feel like I'm playing with AI and the AI is either like good and they do right things or the AI is bad and they do wrong things and there's nothing to do about the AI. And Chai was talking about like turn grid on stuff like this. Yeah, that happened to me so many times because like season 2 was like a trial of fire. It was like it was a trial by fire for like any high ranked person played season 2 and like I have like 500 600 games from season 2. You got noobs on your team every time. You got melee DPS who did 80k damage. You got bards that couldn't burst. And at the end of the game, I'd be like, "Hey, this is your rotation. Practice it and use it and you'll do better next time." And 90% of the time, like I didn't even say it harshly. I just said it straight up. I'm like, I wasn't like, "You effing idiot, you quit the game, kill yourself, uninstall." I was like, "This is your rotation, use it, you'll see improvement." And then I would get like they would be like, "Dude, you don't have to be such an ass about it." I was like, what is going on? Like people just don't want to be told that they're doing something wrong. And it's just an issue when you enter a team sport and when you enter something competitive. Yeah, that's my rant. So we can
I'll
continue talking.
Yeah, I want to give my opinion, but first I want to sort of match that story that you gave, right? So you told a player, gave them some advice, maybe not in the most polite fashion, but like it's PvP. We're not here to drink tea and make each other feel better. You gotta criticize people if they want to get better, right?
Well,
So
yeah, you only have 60 seconds when the match screen like after the match screen's up, you get kicked in 60 seconds. So I have to tell this guy how to play Bard in 60 seconds. I'm not going to be like, let me break up with you softly. I'm going to be like, this is what you have to do. Please practice. The end.
and so you said he wasn't very receptive to the advice, right?
Yeah, he was. There was a misunderstanding. Like he was like,
Okay.
"You're being an asshole," and I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm just telling you this is how you can get better." And then he's like, "Look, everyone's an asshole when they give advice," and I'm like, "I'm not trying to be an asshole here. I'm just trying to help you." And he's like, "Okay, most people are." So I think like after 30 more seconds of talking to him, he realized that I was just trying to be helpful. But most people would leave by then. They'd be like, "Fuck this guy, I'm gone." Like they just leave. So in that situation, he was receptive to it eventually. Some people just have like too big of egos to be receptive to it, or they just like will leave too soon to be receptive to it, and they will take it as harassment either way.
Yeah, I guess I can kind of match your story on that because I had a similar situation. So as you guys probably know, I like to stream my solo queue. It helps me vent my toxicity over voice to my stream instead of in chat. Doesn't always work, obviously. But I had a guy that was watching my stream, never knew him, and I got in a game with him, and he was playing Warrior, and he was so fucking awful, like so bad. And so I was just flaming him on my stream, like not knowing that he was watching. I mean, I would have done it anyway, probably. And so after the match ends, he comes into my chat and he's like, "Hey, I was the Warrior that you were just talking shit on." And I just I let him know. I was like, "Look, man, like you did really bad. I'm not gonna apologize because I mean what I said." But then I just gave him the Warrior Burst rotation. I said, "Look, this is the order that you need to hit your abilities. Now go kill some healers." And he thanked me for it. This was back in, I think, earlier mid season 2. And this season, that same player actually hit Diamond. So, I mean, obviously, it's not all my credit, but the guy did take it to heart and he did improve. And, like, that opportunity now is gone with this chat removal.
Yeah. Like, see, here's the thing. Like, that new player thing bothers me a ton. But I think what bothers me the most is that in the Feast, you get so many good games, like so many clutch moments, so many like sick LBs, so many like really, really close, tense games that rely on communication as a personal antidote. Uh, there was a game I'm sorry, I can't recall with who, but you probably know who it is. I was against a paladin, and the paladin accidentally 10 stacked because they were bound on medals, so they 10 stacked, and we were like, I was like, don't attack the paladin. Just don't attack him. We're already winning because even with 10 stacks, we're still winning in the medal count. We can just kill this healer over and over again. And the people on my team listen because if the paladin with 10 stacks, they can never get close. They can't cover. They can't clemency. They're stuck in their base hiding for the rest of the match, and we're 3v4ing them. And with no chat removal, with the chat removal, I can't say that anymore. And all of a sudden, my other DPS is probably gonna go kamikaze into the base trying to find that 10 stack because it's so appealing. So the fact that you can't have advanced tactics, or you can't instantly communicate, hey, we're in a unique situation. This is what we're gonna do. Really frustrates me because now the games are just gonna rely on you mashing, attack healer, attack healer, attack healer, attack healer, or whatever in order to communicate your point apart.
Yeah, or even the other end of that, if his team would have just said, "Hey, you've got 10 stacks, guy, and there's 3 minutes left in the match. Go kill yourself on the enemy team and reset your stacks."
Dude, I wonder if any of the times I've told a tank to kill themselves was reported for harassment when I meant it in a strategic way.
Yes.
I can tell you right now, if they reported it, probably would, because my very first report in the Feast was for spamming a macro that I was using to communicate with tanks that said, "Hey tank, if you get 4 stacks, switch into your tank stance," and the very end of the macro says, "If you don't do this, you will die." And when the GM talked to me, because I got banned for 2 days for this, for using that macro, and he said, the last part of it is abrasive and can be seen as harassment because it could be interpreted as you telling the player that you're going to kill them.
That's retarded.
It is, right? Like, it's ridiculous. So, I mean, I think we just need a quick chat feature that just says "kill yourself." I mean, I feel like people would understand.
Good job. Nice job. Kill yourself. Nice job.
Yeah. So I do have a little bit more to say about this in a general sense. And I mean, I have that huge thread that I'm sure everybody's seen on the official forums by now. I stick by what I said they should have done, and I said this months ago when the feature was first announced, before it was even implemented. This should be the system that's in place to deal with punishing players who are toxic in PvP, in duty roulette, in anything. Like,
100% agree.
This is what other competitive games do that have high levels of toxicity. They just mute you for a few games, and then you're like, "Oh shit, well, this game really sucks because I can't tell my team what to do, and I'm losing more games now because I can't communicate."
That would be good. That would actually be a pretty elegant solution to the problem with toxicity, and I think over time it would definitely decrease because people would be like, "Oh, I'm stuck with these stupid nice job commands now."
Nice job.
And so, like, and I feel like because their excuse, right, was that they were getting too many reports and it was too much work, essentially. That's the meaning that I guess we all inferred from their explanation.
They said there was more harassment than strategy in the live video, I think was the translation.
And I mean, my experience is that that's
Which
insanely untrue.
yeah, I think
Being the antagonist of toxicity, I can still say that is untrue. I've had
I,
more games that are strategic or lighthearted than games that are toxic.
I'm pretty sure the problem here, or at least a portion of the problem, is that what is what is criticism is being construed as harassment.
yeah,
That's like people make comments, but those comments are either berating someone's play or telling them how to play better, and that is what SE is viewing as harassment. So in if it's viewed that way, then yes, the overwhelming majority of games, at least with new players, will have some form of quote unquote harassment.
And I think on top of that, we have a game with a much more sensitive player base than a lot of other competitive games. Where, if you say something like, I mean, Tira, you were saying earlier how, like, just uh, not buttered up criticism could be taken as harassment, but even saying something so, like, so dumb as, like, man, this Bard is useless, or man, our DPS sucks. Like, that's not harassment. I'm sorry, but like, I've played so many other games. That's not harassment. But I feel like that is the kind of stuff that's probably getting reported by some of these players. And
See,
if
the thing,
that's the case, like, I think it's more more of a problem. And I know the general population that is on the other side of the fence here is going to hate me for saying this. But if you're playing a competitive game, you do kind of have to toughen up to stuff like that.
See, the problem is that XIV in general isn't competitive outside of maybe the feast and hardcore PVE, like the end game PVE.
world's first, yeah.
Yeah, and the feast. Like those are two aspects of the game where you know competition arises and speed kills and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
there's lots of competition area, but the general population, or at least the vast majority of the player base, never experiences it. So when they're thrust into a place where there is competition and there is something to lose, your rating or whatever, that people get defensive because all of a sudden they're assaulted from well, they perceive that they're assaulted by people who are more competitive than them, and that is a problem. Not so much with the person, but the fact that the game itself isn't competitive.
Well, it's not just that it isn't competitive. I think in their ignorance, in their inexperience, Square Enix has without a doubt, in my opinion anyway, created the single most toxic environment in terms of gameplay out of any of the other competitive games I played. Like, to put it in perspective for people that don't really
Season
get my
two.
point, imagine if you're playing League of Legends, right? And you are in the top 100 of players. You're going from Masters to Challenger tier, is I believe the correct terminology there. So you're about to go into the threshold where you'd be considered one of the pros. You get into your match, and then some dude locks in mid lane, and he's a bronze 5 player, and he's just going to troll the fuck out of you because he doesn't care. He just did a dab. He's high as fuck. He doesn't even know where he is right now, and he's on your team when you're supposed to be one of the best players that plays the game. That is the environment that the Feast has created, especially in Season 2, but even now in Season 3, you get these people on your team that are like, they have like a 30% win rate and you have like a 60%, and they just completely bring down the quality of the games.
Yeah, they
I,
have not, like, of all the three, like, honestly, the first season they did best with the rating and tier, and then they just totally destroyed it in season two.
I
Like,
think
season two, you could be the number one in the data center and get a ninja who just doesn't know anything, that just like runs in middle every single time and just LOSs you
I'm glad the
constantly.
season two nightmare is over. The season two matchmaking was awful. It
But I
was
have to say, like season three right now, like yesterday night, like I queue weird times, but yesterday night I queued a game on Paladin. Huge mistake. Like I should always just be healer, machinist, or monk. I queued a game on Paladin, and I got two healers I've never seen before. The game ended in 2 minutes. A diamond healer soloed our entire team. I had more healing done than our white mage in 2 minutes as Paladin. That was a diamond tier game on Primal the other night. It
yes.
was ludicrous.
Someone in chat just brought up a good point. I think that's actually Sir. I'm pretty sure it's Sir. If it's not, then I apologize.
Oh
Uh,
no, this was oh never mind.
no,
Sorry.
it was someone just said that after each feast game, there's raw numbers, damage and healing that shows how well you did and how your performance comparatively. And no other aspect of the game has that. In fact, damage parsers are considered illegal or not bannable. But when you see go to the end of the feast and you saw like, hey, your machinist did 90k damage and another machinist did 270k damage, there's obviously going to be a sense of inferiority there by the person viewing it, and that might add to the chip on the shoulder.
Yeah, and I mean this is sort of off the point and a bit of a tangent, but those numbers are often misconstrued. Because if say the enemy team has a scholar or a knocked
Yeah,
ast
you lose like
and a
50k
paladin,
damage.
and then you're like, oh dude, the enemy machinist did 20,000 more damage than you. You suck. But it's like, okay, well, our team has a white mage, and you as the tank had 9 stacks for half the match. Of course they're gonna be doing
Yep.
more damage.
Yeah, and also, of course, when the damage also matters on where it's going. Like you
Mhm.
have, I would rather have someone, or at least paired with me, who's excellent at bursting and doing less damage than someone who's doing more damage, who's just
Yeah,
dotting up everybody.
yeah. The
So of course,
difference. I was gonna say it's the
that the
difference
damage can
between.
lie.
Sorry, this is something so stupid to cut you off for, but I was gonna say it's the difference between a machinist knowing how to do their burst combo or a machinist that can do 24 lead shots per minute.
Yeah, 21st scourges per minute is 12,000 potency. Or yeah, that's a lot. But yeah, I think it's SC needs to get to act together with how they need to handle ranking. It's been a huge deal. It's like season 2, I feel like they made season 2 the way they made it because they're like people aren't getting enough matches in season 1. It's not our fault for making rewards not good enough. It's not our fault for not making tutorials for this game mode. It must be because not many people want to play. So they're like, let's just take away like tiered rankings. And then that was a miserable idea. Feedback was terrible. So like, all right, tiered rankings are back, but let's make everyone feel good about themselves because that's all we care about is making people feel good about themselves. So let's make Diamond easier to obtain than Platinum was in season 2.
Yeah. So see, this bugs me a little bit that Diamond was so hard, or it was pretty hard.
Oh,
to
me
get in season
too.
1. Like it was pretty hard to get in season 1, and then season 2, like no one got Diamond.
In one person in the world got
Got
Diamond
in season 2,
on Blackweed.
and now, we look at the leaderboards.
There's
there
so
are
many diamonds. Aether's probably all
over
diamond
half,
at this point.
over half a
Yeah.
diamond on Aether. I just feel like
All the work I did for
maybe you
Platinum
went
in
too far.
season 2 feels like it was for nothing because now I got diamond with like a quarter of the work and just trolling on job. Well, not trolling. I try hard no matter what job I play, but like playing jobs that I'm not 100% capacity at. Like it really makes me upset how hard I tried season 2 after season 3 came out, and it's like, well, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean there are a couple different factors that made Diamond so easy in season 3 though. It wasn't just the point climb, and at least on Aether, I'm not sure if you have a similar experience on Primal Tira, but there were so many, and I'm just going to call them meme players for lack of a more offensive term, where if there was a specific meme player queuing into a certain role at a certain time, you
Yeah,
could
you
just
could
queue
climb.
up into that role against them and literally win every single match.
Yeah,
Because
no,
they were
this
just
is
that bad, and they were at a higher ranking because it's so hard to fall out of gold, for example.
yeah, this really gets me because there are like a bunch of healers with like amazing win rates on Primer's leaderboard, but there were these 3 meme healers that don't play anymore that had 33% win rates, and I swear that I never saw them in any of my matches. Like when I played against like Rum or Ava. Rum Raisin's a great scholar, probably the best scholar I've ever played against. He's kind of like Taru from Chaos for you European people, and then Ava is a great white mage. Everyone on Aether knows him. Everyone on Primal knows him. And like those were the healers I was playing, but there are some healers with like really good ratings and not many games played who are still top 10, I think, just because they like farmed these people who would just queue up with like 33% win rates. And it's ridiculous. Like there really needs to be a placement system. It doesn't exist. Like, but you need to be placed. Like you can't just have Next Cross or Kirigiri starting the season like when everyone has 300 matches in and getting like a 90% win rate all the way and ruining every single match they're in until they get to top 10 where they belong.
It's super heavily weighted when someone good.
It just ruins matches. It literally imbalances the game completely when those players are on at the rating they don't deserve to be
they're
at.
playing silver. It just makes the platinum go. It just makes the rest of platinum so much more of a threat.
It's ridiculous.
The Smurf. I'm gonna call them Smurfs, even though that's not the appropriate term for a lot of the people, because a lot of people just start late. But the Smurfs get paired with the higher ranked players, and then they both get boosted up to crazy levels.
It's ridiculous.
So a lot of people climb from higher levels to even higher levels because they get lucky and get paired with those very skilled players playing on their low-rated character.
This actually happened like pretty recently in the last season to a friend of mine, where they just got paired. They were gold or something, and they just got paired with like the best healers on Aether, like Ava and Airweaver, and like all the way up to platinum.
Yep.
It was super fast. And
I know exactly
like,
who you're talking about
wow,
too.
you got in like 6 hours, and it took me 6 days.
Yeah, my vision for the ranking system has always been something where like you start at 1,000 points, you play 10 placement matches, and it can put you anywhere between 500 and 1,500, and then that's it. Like then it would be a billion times better than what we have right now if it was like that.
I also think
Yeah.
this should be a rank higher than Diamond, because right now you can get to
Oh,
Diamond
yeah.
50% win rate, exactly 50% win rate.
Well, something I think would be cool is if top 10 wasn't just like top 10, it was also like top 10 unlocked, like top 10 were kind of like how League has it, like top 100 in League of Challenger now. I didn't play since season 2, so I think that's how it works. Like top 10 are Challenger, and instead of like getting matched against like golds like diamonds are, Challenger only gets matched with diamonds, Challenger, and platinums. So if you get to that Challenger rank, you end up having a lot more rewarding games because you get like you unlock that extra tier of like exclusivity where like you're like weeding out these 33% win rate gold players.
The problem is that in XIV, at least for now, when you get to Diamond, the queues are already long enough as it is. So if you have that exclusivity, you're gonna be playing with the same dozen people over and over again, and really
Yeah.
won't be that great.
See, so I think this is how you would fix that though. So you classify all of those people as Diamond Q, right? Keep Diamond as easy as to get to now, and I think you should trickle that down actually a little further. I think top 10 should be their own tier, right? And
Yeah.
it would just be for prestige, right? For reward, not for functionality. Then maybe from number 11 to number 20 would be another tier. And maybe if we're stretching it a little bit, 21 to 30 would be another tier, and then all diamonds below that. And the reason for that is that, or at least my reason for that is, I think that would keep the top skilled players, like that would keep them playing because it's a lot easier to compete for top 30, compete for top 20 than it is to just compete for top 10, especially, when you hit that diamond threshold that a lot of people stopped at the low 2000s. And then top 10 is like, I haven't looked at the rankings lately, but I think it's like 2,400 is the cutoff. That is a lot of games at that level to even think about getting into top 10 at the end of the season.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, I just don't like the ranking system in general. I really feel that it needs to be changed because one, it's super basic, and two, it just seems so fluctuating. Like one good night gets you to Diamond.
Mm-hmm. And that's
Yeah.
a lot of that is
Well,
because of those meme players I was talking about too.
Yeah,
I think the reason one good night gets you to Diamond is also because we have such a small player base. So like really people who care a lot about their ranking, like I talk to them and stuff, they play the queue system. They are like, who is in queue? Can I always win against this person? If not, I will not queue up. And like, because that's how it is. Like, if you really want to be number one, you kind of have to play that system. Otherwise, you're just gonna have that like one meme player you get 8 games in a row and drops you like 400, like 200 rating. And it's just because we don't have the big enough community to get different players every single time we queue.
Which is why we need to merge Primal and Aether.
I'd love it. 100% agree.
Yeah, I agree too. And I think a good example, somebody just said in the chat, is there was a player that played healer, right? They are notoriously bad. They have been since season 2. They skyrocketed to diamond over the course of like 3 days because they were just riding the train of another very good melee player that happened to be farming wins at that time. So he rode him all the way up to diamond. That player stopped, and since he was at diamond now, he was getting the worst players on his team to DPS. He fell all the way back down to gold. Hundreds of points in less than a week.
Brutal.
So like, I agree with you, Chia. The fluctuation is insane.
I also want to get rid of Black Week because Black Week is the most stressful.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone likes Black Week. The only people who like Black Week are win traders. I'm 100% sure of that.
I just hate like that you can't see the updates every day. It's just absurd to me that they're building it for tension, but the only thing it does is cause heart attacks.
Yeah, it's so like like Light Party is kind of a mess, but my team takes it seriously, and like people in Aether know it's on Aether it's impossible to keep a team at number one in Light Party, but
Light
we have
Party
somehow done it
needs-
on Primal, and that means like all of Dark Week we're just gonna be sitting in Light Party queue. I'm gonna have to like take off a day of work if I want to be rank one in Dark like after Dark Week because it's so easy for someone to exploit that system and just take my ranking away from me that like I fought so hard the entire season to like get, and they can just take it in a week without me knowing.
They
Light
could take it in a
Party
day.
needs
Yeah.
Party needs its rewards removed or its system severely reworked because it is not a significant game mode right now.
Mhm.
Even
I
though
agree.
it's the highest cap skill mode, it's by far like the highest PvP thing you can do in terms of skill, but it's just not. It's
Oh,
just not,
I'm fine with
it's a
removing
horribly broken
rewards.
system.
Yeah, I think LP should have rewards removed unless they decide to start policing people more. I mean, I have a Bartleby has a post from Primal on the forums about that if you're interested about like what we can do about Late Party to make it less heavy, full of cheaters, basically,
Yeah, I think
or people
my
exploiting the
suggestion,
system.
and the way that did work, it sort of worked in WoW. There was exploits to it, which I'm not going to talk about just in case it moves forward. I don't want to give you guys an idea. But if you register a team like you do right now for Palace of the Dead, you get 2 team slots per season. You can wipe your team and start over from square one, but you would also get your rating removed, right? And then your team just moves up the rankings for that season. And that would alleviate at least the issue of the boosting through pairing with unranked players. It
What I
would
think
not
needs to happen
alleviate
is
win
that
trading.
what really needs to happen is that you cannot get points from well we call them free low teams, like
Mhm.
they're free elo because they're just new players and they just want whatever, like hey, just play the game mode, and people are just grinding games off them.
Yeah, well, I mean, our team kind of needs to because like right now we're the only full team. Our full team is 8,000 rating. If you take like any like there, no one on the data center could come even close to like our team queuing. So like we win 5 a match and lose 1. But when people take unranks in there, like they win 25 and oh sorry, we lose 45 if we lose. 50
Yeah.
when we get diamond.
I lost 45 the other week and it was not a good feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we DC'd. Me and my healer double DC'd. Paladin and healer. We had 200 medals on us, and he had 100 medals on him. We lost the game.
Phew.
45 points.
I
Yeah.
don't mean to one up you here, but I lost 100 points in a day.
Yeah.
Actually, to
Oh,
a legitimate
Jesus.
team, not by.
It was the same team. It was the same team versus me and you.
It's like, yeah, there's a lot of issues with LP, but like I don't want to grind these crappy teams, but like we will play the good teams and we'll win like 80-90% of the time, but they will get ahead of us because they get more points because their rankings are so spread apart. So like for us to like keep our top slot because people like don't want us to win or something, like we need to keep grinding these bad teams because that's what these people with these unranks are doing, and it sucks. I don't want to. I'd rather play solo queue. I'd rather play good teams. But like, if I want to like be rank 1, that's what I have to do, and it's unfortunate.
Right.
And
It's
it's
just,
SC's fault.
it's just a problem with the system itself. And
Yeah.
to go do like party, the participation needs to be like it needs to be stratified. Like you can never have a diamond team versus an unranked team in my eyes. Like that just should never happen.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And here's the thing too. Okay, so this is the big problem I see with it right now, and this part is up to the players. But I'm not going to blame the players. I'm preface by saying I don't blame the players because I would do the same thing. The problem is you get this, this number 1 top tier team in the queue. Even the good teams that queue up and it would be a good, pretty decently fun match, they don't queue into the best team. They're not going to queue if the best team is queuing because they know that
Guilty
there
as
is a very
charged.
good chance that they're going to lose. And the thing is, here's the problem. I think here's why people don't risk it. Because you could risk it, right? If you're a gold team queuing into that diamond or platinum team,
You win
you'll
40
win
points.
like 40 points and you'll lose 15. But the reason that's not worth it is because the amount of time it took you to get to the rating that you're at right now was probably much, much more effort than fighting against that other team because you were grinding 5-point games to get that rating.
In 56 seconds. Like, so you're talking about 3 minutes for 5 points rather than 8 minutes for a possible 40 or loss of 15.
Mm-hmm. It's like, for example, for me, I lost 100 points. I lost 2 50-point loss games against a team. And when we won against them, because we won an equal amount, we went 2-2. But when we won the game, we got 5 points against that team.
Yeah, see and if we're talking about the same team, that team was unranked. Like they just didn't have a ranking,
Yeah.
and they were facing you guys, which are diamond platinum mix, which to me just seems why is that happening? Why is that allowed?
Yeah.
That team should climb up the rating so it's even for both teams. Like
I
you
am
should have,
glad that cross server Party Finder came out because I think that has boosted like good teams being in Light Party. Like that was really needed.
definitely.
Hmm.
But they definitely need to look at Light Party as a whole and either say like we can't fix this, so we're going to remove rewards for a few seasons and it's just bragging rights, or they need to like change how the queue system works, change how the ranking system works, change like only make it like they had an idea that I thought was really good that they just never talked about again, which was like we're only going to open these queues for X amount of hours a day. And I'm like, man, that would really help Light Party.
That would be
It would
really
help
good.
a ton.
Because every good team would queue up in those like 2 hour period, and all the matches would probably be good. And you wouldn't just have like some team farming like playing at 3 a.m. for 6 hours farming drunk people,
And here's the
which
thing,
happened in our server.
And I want to say, I want to play the part of the devil's advocate for literally 5 seconds, because the big comeback to that, right? The counter argument to that proposition right there, that the queue should be locked down to specific times to generate more traffic. People say, oh, well, if I can't play, say for example, during American prime time, then those players are fucked. They can't play. But it's like, okay, guy, nobody is queuing at 4 a.m. in the morning anyway, except for the people that are exploiting the system. You're not going to get a pop at 4 a.m. unless it's against win traders.
Although from personal experience, like not for, of course not 4 a.m. but like at 9 to noon p.m. Or a.m. rather PST, I've gotten some not good players, but some teams, like some real teams who just want to play. There was actually a group, we called them the Green Goblins because they're from Goblin, and they wear green dyed outfits, so they're the Green Goblins. And they queued at 9 a.m. I think it was like 4 nights ago, and they played like they played solid. They were pubs, but they were played solid. Uh, and they were queuing at 10 o'clock in the morning on a weekday. So I mean, I can't fault them for that. It's not the prime time, but that was a real team queuing at that time, and they were not gaming the system; they were just playing games.
Mm-hmm. But the unfortunate thing is, and so here's the thing: if we give people the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, we got 8 of our friends together, we just wanted to play some PvP. We can only play at these super off times where a lot of people aren't on, and nobody else is in queue to contest us. My problem isn't so much that they're playing together; it's that in a system like Light Party, where games go like that, and in the past it's usually a 50-50% win rate, lo and behold, they get on the leaderboard, right? They have no contest, and they're on a leaderboard saying that, hey, we are the best PvPers. That's my issue with that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if a gaming system not kosher, but the point is that the fact that you can get like both teams can go back and forth 50-50 and still climb, that's what seems wrong to me. How is that a system that even makes sense? You're just 1-for-1, you're 1-1, and you're both gaining rating. Like, what is that?
I got temp banned from the forums because the first day the patch dropped on Primal, there were like 900 ranking silver players on our leaderboard already, and they both had 50% win rates, so they were clearly farming each other. So I'm like, this is a problem and it can be exploited, and they banned me for interrupting like the way Square Enix does service or something. I think they thought I was telling people, hey, everyone can get rewards by doing this, but I was like, hey, SE, why don't you do something about this? These guys can get all the way to the diamond by just playing each other with like nothing to lose.
But this is sort of a tangent comment again, but it's pretty fucked up. One of the rules of the forums is that you're not allowed to publicly criticize Square Enix as a company.
Real.
Yeah, which is a little ridiculous. But yeah. So I want to round out this discussion about Light Party by sort of saying, I think a full like complete solution is needed here. There's there's really two options. You either remove the rewards, kill the game mode, just fucking kill it, or you implement the way I would have it. You would implement the team system, right, with like the Palace of the Dead style team lock-ins. You implement the system where you can only queue at specific times. Keep it flexible enough so that people that play at different days could play it, but keep it concise enough so that people can't really, screw it over uh, realistically. So I feel like if
I
you
think
did like every day during prime time during the week and then maybe a longer period during weekends, you could still have enough players in the queue, I think anyway, that wouldn't be able to, people wouldn't be able to win trade, or at least it would be harder for them to do so.
What I would really like to see is something like that, but I kind of want rewards kept in, but a bit differently. I really like if Square Enix like cares about their PvP at all, which like sometimes I feel like they don't. Sometimes they make Garo and unlock front lines finally, but with Feast it always seems like they don't really care about us. But what I really like to see is like that like you do the normal system and then you have like the teams who register, and then at the end of the season you take like the top two teams from like each data center and you just have this like giant casted tournament, and you like generate hype. You have good teams playing, unlike at like fan fests where you just have like veterans rolling
Yeah.
everyone, and it's a fun event and people are get into it. Like it's I think like I remember someone came to my stream once and was like, "Wow, is this Final Fantasy PvP? This looks way more fun to watch than like people have told me in the past." Like I don't think it's fun to watch Final Fantasy PvP if you play Final Fantasy. So like SE can definitely use like Light Party as PvP marketing if they just tried to, but I feel like they haven't really.
And it's so
I feel
simple. It would be so simple to do. You just create a tournament server where you have pre-made characters. You could host them there.
Yeah.
And I 100% agree, because I think that when you have a system like this in PvP, and these are conversations I've had dating back before the Feast came out, where I've been talking to the top players and I'm like, the conversations come about because I'm like, hey, could you make a guide for your job? You're like the best player at it. Could you, maybe help teach some other people to be that good, because nobody comes even close to you? And they're like, well, why would I do that? Who would benefit? Like, what's the end goal? Like, why do people want to be really good at PvP in this game? And I think that end goal should be those public, community tournaments. Like, I feel like when you take a game that has any sort of PvP centric, like, mode, the end goal should be to be crowned like the best, you know?
see,
Not through
this
an
is inherent.
exploitable system, but live at an event run by moderators so you can't cheat.
I would love a tournament, but there is an inherent problem with Light Party that needs to be addressed before any of this. Is that the Light Party skill curve, the Light Party skill gap between the good teams, the mediocre teams, and the trash teams is gigantic. It's absurd. It
Yeah.
is
Well, there's
disgusting.
only the other problem is there's only one comp to run, and if you don't run that comp, you're just gonna
Yeah,
lose.
See here,
I
and
mean,
here's the thing: we say that there's only one comp to run, but after seeing that Summoner Dark Knight team that completely trashed me, we were running
Yeah,
the God comp as it's called, but they trashed us. And so I think there are other viable comps. It's just the players
not enough
aren't good enough, or
experimentation.
the players as a team aren't coordinated enough to play to those comps' strengths.
well, I think another thing is like you probably didn't have like we had trouble against teams sometimes. Like there are good teams on Primal, there are great teams on Primal that play us once in a while, and they're fun matches. And we have trouble with that team for like one or two matches, but then we like figure out how that comp works, and we break it down, and then we just exploit the weaknesses in their comp, and it takes a while. And I think the issue is like you don't see a lot of comps, like weird comps run by good players, so you don't get that experience fighting other things. I think minus the God comp, Summoner would be very good because Paladin and White Mage both get countered by it over Machinist, but without Mana Song, I mean, it's a toss up. But I feel like you just don't have the experience playing against like great teams of
There's no
random comps.
there's no incentive to experiment. There's why would you just risk losing everything
Yeah,
and
I'll
doing that
lose
with the
50 points if I experiment.
yeah. So the the point is like okay, so from my perspective, like I just started doing Light Party recently with players who've never done Light Party before or never really into PvP, and they're amazing players. Like they're 99, 100 percentile FF loss players, world first caliber players, and they're fantastic. I love playing with them, but they're just so new to PvP or so inexperienced that they can't do anything. They get frustrated. They get mad, and I can't imagine what it would be like for a new player or like a average player to play the game when they don't have that introspection. Like, Stefan, we've played you a bunch of times, and like you crush us every game, and we accept that because you guys have mountains of experience and we don't, so we have to climb up the ladder and get used to it. But the fact is that a new player getting to this environment would never have the patience for that. They never care to do it. They never want to get better. They're just like, oh, got stopped. Let's go kill Zervin.
Yep.
Stuff
Actually,
like
there's
that.
a pattern to that. So let me tell you the pattern to that, right? Because, like you said, my team has hundreds, probably even thousands of games in Light Party over the last couple seasons. And this is the pattern that is always true. You queue into a team for the first time. They try, you stomp them, their spirit's crushed a little bit, but you know what? Whatever. The game ends in a minute. You hop out, you queue again, it pops instantly. You hop in, it's the same team again. Maybe they still try this time. Maybe they accept their fate and just run into you and die. But anyway, that game's
Wait,
over.
can I
Just as
guess the
quick as the
end?
first. Wait. Okay. Guess.
Can I guess? After the third or fourth game, they run into the middle with no clothes on and start dancing.
Nope. Okay, so that's if you get the tome farmers. But so
Okay.
step 3, this is the standard, right? These are the people that actually want to win. So step 3, you pop out of the queue, your team instantly queues back up, but there's a bit of a wait, and you think, oh, you know what? They got crushed twice, they're probably done. But before you know it, 2 minutes later, that queue pops, you get in, it's the same team again, and you say to yourself, you know what? They were waiting for us to get into a different game and trying to stagnate the queue. Little do they know it's a dead game mode, and they're just going to get you over and over and over.
Yeah,
And
that happens to us too.
And then after that third game ends in under a minute, they're done. And then they probably never queue again.
Yeah,
But
it's
see,
it's
the limit
unfortunate.
of the system needs to be that those players, those players who are just learning out for the first time and want to get good Light Party, never ever get queued against you. Like that should be the system. They have to play against people of their own skill so that they can cultivate their practice, their coordination, whatever, their burst, the healing, and then move on to slightly harder targets. I mean, that's how every game works. Every competitive, like League of Legends, Dota, whatever, they have MMR for that reason.
Yeah, and you need to build team chemistry too. Like, I always get a bit confused. Like, I see people play us and they like want to beat us, and like that's great. Like, people want to beat us, but they get so frustrated that they're not winning like every game. Like they think that they can jump into this game mode, never playing together before, and just like beat a team with like 500 games of experience. And it's like, I remember how we played our first like few games. So we were terrible. We didn't play together as a team at all. And now we play off of each other's strength. And there's just so much like building that goes on in like making a good Light Party team that I think people don't realize. I think you can just get 4 good players together and just like stomp all the time.
But the game mode is never going to grow it's always going to decrease in popularity unless there's some sort of system or some sort of pattern that lets new players play with new players, medium players play with medium players, and good players play with good players, and only that way. Maybe occasionally you can have a stomp or so, but it's just unhealthy for the game mode, and it's never going to go anywhere unless some sort of overhaul of the ranking system and the parity system works out.
100% agree. And I wanted to go somewhere because I enjoyed these matches. Like when I have good Light Party matches, they're like way better than like good Feast matches.
Yeah, they're intense. I had a good match against the team you were talking about earlier, Stefan, 2 nights ago, and it was really, really, really fun. Like it was a nail biter, but it was super fantastic. I would love to keep playing those, but then they stopped queuing, and we stopped queuing 5 minutes later, and we were done.
Yeah, I think the best way to alleviate that would be the consolidated queue times, right? Like if everybody could queue up and there was just a higher volume of people, maybe with the data center merge too, and then pair it with like, see, I'm toying around with the idea. I can't decide between if an MMR matching system would be better than the rating system. So say, for example, you get those diamond level players that queue up as bronze. Well, maybe if they, have a 100% win rate in their bronze level games, then it starts matching them with the platinum and diamond players. It's like, okay, these guys are way too good.
Right now. Yeah, I mean, you really can't have, I don't know, you really can't have Smurfs and Light Party because that's also unhealthy to the system.
It's miserable. Like, yeah, we have the top. The people tied for first are like playing Light Party now, and it's super scary for us because like these are 2 of the best players on our data center, and like they can play us and we can lose 50 points. Like it is 100% possibility, and anytime they lose, they will lose 1. And it's like the scariest thought ever to like see them and like make one mistake and just lose 50 points because that's like
that's 10
2
games.
hours of work
Yeah.
for us. Yeah. But I would love to play that team with less on. It's like one person has everything at stake, and the other people have like zero at stake, like absolutely nothing.
Which is also unhealthy because it incentivizes one side to stop queuing.
Yep. Oh, I think we've talked about late party enough probably at this point. There are a lot of issues. It could be a great game mode.
Light Party needs an overhaul. Light Party simply needs an overhaul of its matchmaking and the way the party composition is assigned. You can't just play with any random people because that also opens to exploitation, as evidenced by the leaderboard.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, we did kind of go off topic there from talking about the chat restriction and feast to talking about Light Party, but it is something I wanted to eventually get to anyway because we've seen such a huge resurgence in Light Party participation from good teams too. It's not like it's just Garo people coming in. There are a lot of new, better teams now that are queuing up, and we haven't seen that, at least on Aether, since the beginning of Season 1. Like preseason, like the very beginning of Season 1, that was the last time Aether Light Party Queue has seen any good teams until now. And, like, in my opinion, Light Party Feast is the pinnacle of high-level PvP in this game at the moment. It's just not done right. So I think like we had a lot of like good ideas here. It's just a matter of, can Square Enix learn from their mistakes? Can they look at their competitors and see what other people are doing that works and try to implement similar systems? Or are we going to sit on it for 2 years again, like we did with the GC restriction thing, and let the game mode completely die out before they try to revitalize it later?
My opinion is that they're in maintenance mode regarding all the current things until Stormblood hits. So I won't expect.
Yeah, I think they're not going to do anything until Stormblood too.
But I have my fingers crossed that Stormblood fixes it up.
Yeah, that's so. I guess parting thought on the feast. Do you guys think it's going to die in 4.0?
I think.
Then
I'll let you go first.
I think the feast is there. Like that's the competitive game mode moving forward, and it'll continue season 5, season 6, or whatever. But they'll also have a replacement for Frontlines or something additional alongside Feast. I think that they put the chips on Feast and they're going to stick with it.
Yeah, hopefully they continue to adjust it because we're sort of running over on time, but I think we can take 10 more minutes to talk specifically about balance in PvP. Really quick discussion. Do you think that we're going to see any job changes coming into the next few sub patches?
They need to change Black Mage and they need to change Dark Knights, in my eyes. Those are
Please, they need.
And Scholar.
You're a monk player. Don't even. Come on.
He's not going to say to
Come on.
Monk.
Tell the class that really needs to be changed.
You can nerf Monk. The problem with Monk is Fist of Earth. You just get rid of Fist of Earth and they're fine.
I think there's more. I think a big problem with Monk is being able to go into perfect balance and spamming one Elm Punch, and I think going into perfect balance and spamming Arm of the Destroyer are both way too strong.
Okay, one Elm Punch I agree with. I really don't like Arm of the Destroyer. I personally don't like it. Like, man, using it once on Somersault is good because it interrupts the cast.
Be a white mage in a sacred prism, and then tell me that you don't like using Armor to Destroyer.
When that monk also has a summoner on his team too.
Oh my god! It's
impossible.
Just if you don't have Fluidor up, you're just dead. Someone's
or
dead.
Or if he fetters.
I really like both One Punch and Armor of the Destroyer.
I think they should be abilities. I just don't think they should be able to be perfect balanced.
Maybe that's a good fix. But I really think the big problem with Monk, the absolute thing.
Yeah, Fist of Earth is broken. Everyone knows that.
It's Fist of Earth.
Yeah, Fist of Earth is disgusting.
Not pressable in PvP. Monk is severely nerfed. Severely.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's huge. Like there's games where you have that monk that has the double buff, and he goes in, and it's like, wow, this guy's harder to kill than the tank.
Yeah. You put a stack on the monk. You put a stack on the monk, and now
it's 3%. It's 3% damage increase if a monk has a stack. It breaks the game mode.
Yeah. So I would, if I could change anything, if I could nerf monk, I would just say, hey, remove Fist of Earth, and that's what I would do. And as a monk, maybe that's a little bit too little, but I feel that would be enough. And the second one, if you want to nerf something, nerf between the eyes. Just
Oh
remove it.
yeah,
Get rid
like
of it.
See, I
I
would change something different. I would
I
nerf
would
the
change other
silence.
things about mech too. I think mech has way too much utility, or Mach
Yeah,
has
yeah.
way too much utility.
It can stun, it can bind, it can snare. Like it's too good.
Plus a 2-second silence. That
Yeah,
is,
plus the stun, plus the
oh my,
silence. Yeah,
that is so terrible.
plus insane burst, utterly insane
Yeah,
burst. Yeah, I mean, you can stop a Bard's burst pretty easily, just stun them. But a machinist just does it 7 seconds later or whatever.
Yeah, I'd say I actually do think beyond the silence, I think between the eyes is what needs to get looked at.
yeah. I think I don't know. I think the fact that Mach has stuns is just an issue. Like no other range class has stuns, and you can just in solo queue, it's just such a force to be able to like. If you just go to adrenaline box and use stun gun, you win that adrenaline box.
Yeah,
Like
and
they can't do anything about it.
the fact that you can't you can't even heal through the full burst of a machinist without severe cooldowns like cover, sacred prism is also disgusting. Like you can stop a monk burst without without those super good cooldowns. You can stop it, but machinist burst is no way you're living without burning a huge cooldown.
Yeah, I was gonna say even Tetragrammaton on a white mage doesn't save you if they get
Yeah,
the full thing off.
yeah. I mean the machinist burst is the biggest burst, but in terms of buffs though, you really need to look at Black Mage, Scholar, and Dark Knight. Those are the classes that need it the most.
Yeah, buffs definitely. I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Nerf Black Mage the last 2 times, like they just nerf sleep, which is necessary because the Black Mage coordination sleep it's disgusting, but they need something to make them good.
I think something that would just really help the range DPS is if every range DPS got a mana song. I think that would balance
Yes.
them way
Definitely,
more.
Yes.
definitely.
I mean,
Like
it's-
I would really like to bring Summoner into LP and test it out a bit, but like when you're against a good team, if you're like living, if you're like alive half the match, you are losing so much mana, and you can't do it without a machinist or a bard.
Yeah, they really should just make mana draw targetable.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
So you can just Black Mage mana draw, perfect. And they also need to probably change the way. What's it called? Wither.
Yo, Wither can
Mis-
strip
Misty Veil.
attunement.
I think you're
Misty
thinking
Veil, yeah.
Misty Veil. No, Misty Veil needs to be changed because that's a garbage skill. It does nothing.
Yeah.
Dude, so is Etheric Burst.
A third person is part of the summoner combo though. It's a part of the summoner burst.
Right,
combo.
Yeah.
but for healers, it's
Yeah,
completely
for healers
useless.
it's garbage. Yeah, so
It's
probably need to-
0.01 second skill speed
So
reduction.
I think in general, Etheric Burst across the board, instead of having a skill speed reduction, should just have a slow.
Slow.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Maybe they make the knockback that scholars have baseline for all healers, and then they give scholars something special.
No, I like Scholar's knockback. I think Scholar's knockback should have a bind or a down for the count with it.
I
Like a
think down
Mithril
for the count.
Tempest.
Yeah.
Down for the count, definitely. Because
Because Rum does this thing where Rum will bind with the knockback and it's brutal. Like it just destroys burst. Because melee getting bind, like anyone who plays a melee knows the second you get bind, if you don't have something to do about it, it just sucks.
I mean, Shadow Bind is a 10-second stun in my eyes. I hate it.
Yeah.
Chakra, that's it.
Especially as monk because you can't even throw things. You just
Can't
charge chakra and sit there and form shifting.
even weapon throw. Actually, take away Fist of the Myth, give me back weapon throw. That's a perfectly balanced thing.
That's what yeah, some people were saying that on Primal, like take weapon throw back. I like weapon throw being on tanks because I mean for light party, weapon throw on tanks feels more fun
Mhm.
because like I feel like I'm helping. Like I see my melee chase a healer and I'm like, oh weapon throw. We can
Weapon
get this
throw
healer.
is probably too
But-
strong on melee. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is too strong on melee. And I also think when you put it on a tank, the insinuation, I don't know if that's the right word, the insinuation of what it should be used for is a little bit more clear. Because weapon throw is both an offensive and a defensive utility.
that's true. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Taking sprint off of the guy that's chasing your healer is just as important as heavy throwing and taking sprint off the guy that
Exactly.
your
Yeah.
DPS is
Looking
chasing.
at that perspective, weapon throw makes much more sense on tanks than melee.
Mhm.
That's I never thought of that before. But yeah, I hope that with the release of the new map, the Gridania map, they'll take a serious look at the classes that need the most help. Like Dark Knight, I don't know what they could do. just increase the potency across the board.
See,
Maybe make
I don't think it's potency. I think it's making. And sorry to cut you off. I just think Dark Knight needs some very minor tweaks.
Yeah,
Because
I
our
think Dark Knight
team,
could be very strong.
yeah,
Very strong.
yeah, because our team actually played with a Dark Knight for a little part of this season, and I mean it works. It's a very very
Yeah.
good job when it's played correctly. You just have to change the way you play pretty drastically compared to a warrior or a paladin.
I
I
really can't imagine even well played Dark Knight just can't come close to the utility of a Paladin, except for
It's
maybe against
I think
casters.
oh well yeah, I can't come close to Paladin, but Paladin's busted. I think a good Dark Knight is I think I this is an unpopular opinion because I say this a lot, but people like disagree with me. But I think like a very good Dark Knight, I would rather have them on my light party team than a very good warrior. I
No,
think the
I actually agree with that.
binds
I
are
agree with that.
so strong. Yeah. And the slow is so strong, and Cardinal
And Cardinal
Chill
Chill,
just
Cardinal
stops
Chill,
burst dead.
Cardinal Chill is just counters Bart. You play against a good Bart, you can just Cardinal Chill them every time he rises up, and they can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I think if like Dark had like some way to like CC lock somehow with like a silence or something, that'd be very cool. Because then you have like Paladin who's this like CC who CCs with stuns, and then you have Dark Knight who just silences. Like I think that would kind of be like a cool thing they can add to some part of the Dark Knight toolkit and maybe make it
See,
stronger.
see, and I disagree with that just because I don't think it fits the theme that they're trying to accomplish with Dark Knight. So the way I see Dark Knight and the way that they're designing its PvP abilities is it deals with AoE disables, right? You have Carnal Chill, you have Tar Pit, you have Unleash. It's all AoE, right? My my suggestion would just be to tweak Tar Pit. That's it. It's the only thing it needs. It just needs to become a really good defensive cooldown. And what I think is once you drop Tar Pit, any of your allies that are standing within it are healed based off the damage that's done to the enemies that are standing in it. So say your team, like your healer's getting trained or whatever, you drop a tar pit on the DPS that's chasing your healer and then switch to him, the damage that you're doing to that enemy that's sitting in the tar pit heals your other teammates that are sitting in it. Like an asylum that scales off of the damage you do.
I like it. I like it. That's a unique one. How about
I think
having full
that
swing and soul
I think
spire
that'd be
stack?
very strong, but that would be very interesting.
I mean, maybe if they just gave them Thrill of Battle, that would be enough. That or Thrill of War, whatever,
But
whatever
see, but
one.
then you're taking the
All
strengths of other
healers.
jobs and putting it on
Yeah,
another job.
No, no,
yeah.
something similar. Maybe it doesn't have to be exactly Thrill of Battle. It can just
Just
be
give all tanks clemency.
give all things Tetsudo. Seriously, give all things
Yeah.
Tetsudo.
Or
Well, I mean that they have it with. I think Cardinal Chill is like Dark Knight Tetsudo, right?
Tetsudo, yeah. I mean, it's
yeah,
reverse Tetsudo.
but it's not as good. I mean, I'll be honest. It's not. Sorry, it's not that it's not as
Yeah,
good in a certain situation, like at its max potency. Carnal Chill is better. Tetsudo just is more practical. Another thing I'm thinking of, because I think the line or the line of thought that you're thinking on with giving them Thrill of War is to sort of counter that LB, right? To save them from an LB, which Tetsudo and Thrill of War
Any
does, but
minor
Carnal
ability.
Chill
Yeah,
doesn't. So what
I
if
mean,
Tar Pit, when you put it down, was just like a Sacred Soil? Or
that
I
would be good.
guess like a
Prism.
Carnal Chill. Maybe if an enemy is sitting in Tar Pit, they do 20% less damage.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I
Actually,
also think you could just fix the problem by nerfing Paladin.
yeah.
Like
You could
you
cut
get
Clemency in
you
half.
cut Clem, you either cut something of Clem, you cut something of cover, or you
I think
like
Clemency. Cover has counters, Clemency doesn't.
Clemency is insane. It's so powerful.
Hmm
You stop Clemency. You stop maybe the stun. Maybe the last stun doesn't
Yeah, the
apply.
stun lock is super powerful
Maybe,
too.
maybe you make it. I mean, the stun,
Maybe you
stun,
make it
stun,
like
silence.
3-1-1 instead of 4-2-1.
Maybe, but I mean,
No,
Paladin just
it would just
has
need 2 stuns.
ridiculous amount of utility. How would you fix Scholar?
Scholar. Oh, I had a wait 1 second. You guys talk. I actually was talking to this with someone. Let me try to find the conversation. You guys talk first.
Right, so if I had to
Okay.
fix Scholar, I would make it so that when they, well, first I would make it so that overall Dissipate resummons the fairy right after Dissipate falls off, and you can click off Dissipate, because that would be a huge buff. You could actually have Dissipate and Fairy right now at the same time because of a bug they introduced in 3.5, but I don't know if that's going to stay. Uh, and also just give them one more ability, PvP ability, that either binds, that's not Blizzard 2, like give them some sort of fluid aura analogy, or give them an AoE heal, an AoE shield that's not sucker, something PvP ability like that.
Oh, okay. I have what I said. I was talking to Linecord, who's like, we're talking about how we can fix balance things the other week. And I said, like, what I really think Scalar needs, I think they need to spawn with 3 Aetherflow stacks in their fairy and have Aetherflow and cooldown. It's
that's
really, like,
that's
you
true,
can
that's
just
true.
chain
That's too
kills on
strong.
Scholar.
That's too strong though. So, and I'll let you finish the rest of your points, and I agree with the fairy. I agree that something needs to be done with the fairy, but with the Aetherflow stacks, think of it this way: it's no different than say a white mage dying after using their benediction and it never goes off, or Astro using their essential dignity and then they die anyway. It's no different than a scholar that pops Aetherflow and then dies right after. Because the way I see it, they got outplayed if they had stacks or they just used stacks, used them all up, and then still died. That's getting outplayed. So I don't think that they should come back with stacks because that's just way too powerful.
What if they come back with 1 stack? That gives them the chance.
Yeah,
to
because like even
realistically
Astro, like if
lesser.
you waste ED, you come back up with ED. Like
No,
it's just the
a 1 minute
time it
cooldown.
takes. I thought it was 40 seconds.
Is it 40 seconds?
I think it's 40 seconds.
Tetra is a minute, which is the
Tetra's
same
1
cooldown.
minute, yeah.
See, here's the issue. Imagine most scenarios, the healer dies. The healer dies, and your team is running back, and you have to run. Sorry, the team is running back, and you have to save the person who's running back from dying. White Mage has Tetra, Astro has Essential Dignity or Aspected Benefic, and Scholar has nothing except for maybe Lustrate. So they need something in that scenario.
Yeah, but I guess I kind of see Seven's point though, because he's saying like if you use Tetra and Dyne as a white mage, you don't have Tetra anymore.
Exactly.
Of course, 90% of the time you use Tetra and Die as a white mage, your Tetra just doesn't heal you, your Benny doesn't heal you, but that's besides the point.
I mean, I think
you-
it's along the same line of thinking though, because say, okay, so if the argument is if you're a scholar, you use your stacks, you die, you spawn with no stacks, you recover into nothing, right? So say your team is getting pushed, they're back at your base, you spawn again, your team's low, well, you have nothing to heal them back up quickly. I mean, white mage, it's the same thing. If you don't have Tetra when you get up and your teammates are running back to base, I mean, I guess you could swift cast a cure too, but a lot of the times you're not going to have the healing throughput to save them in that situation. I mean, so I think it's the same for Scholar. It's not specifically a detriment for Scholar, other than the fairy situation.
I can agree on that, but yes, the fairy does need to be changed. You need to spawn with the fairy.
Yeah, I think you need to spawn with the fairy, and I would change. Well, first of all, I would make Aura Blast, the knockback one, do down for the count. So they kind of like, because Astro has their AoE CC, White Mage has sleeps and Fluid Aura, but yeah, like all Scholar has is Aura Blast, and if you don't combine it with Blizzard, like they're just gonna shoulder tackle or jump onto you, and you're just gonna die anyways.
Well, it's the 3 weaknesses I think for me, for Scholar. Like now I'm thinking a little bit more about it. It's really 3 key things the way I see it. The fairy, the obvious one, right? CC is another huge one. They have very little CC compared to the other 2 healers. And then the third is their MP management. And I don't know if this is just me being bad in my experience with Scholar, but whenever I play it, I feel like their MP just gets deleted so fast.
No,
they don't have Viewer, they don't have Luminiferous Aether, and their strong MP recovery tool in PvE, in Energy Drain, is used up with Lustrates or Indoms in PvP.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I noticed in season 2, like I had a lot more trouble facing. Like I still have trouble with Rum because Rum is an insane scholar, but in season 2 it was really hard to beat Rum because you'd only get one good DPS on your team, and they would be only one person outputting damage, and that person couldn't solo break Scholar Shield, and that person couldn't wear down the Scholar. But I realized this season when you have like 2 or 3 good players on your team, like Rum will fold eventually. Like Rum will run out of mana or they will run out of Lustrates. So like Scholars is really good at crushing people who like can't burst well, or like a team that can't play together. But if you just keep pressuring it, it does run out faster than White Mage or Astro.
What about Scholar's glaring weakness, or at least most Scholar's glaring weakness, the Summoner? It's like Scholar versus Summoner always feels like Scholar always loses. Maybe not always, but it's a huge detriment to their class.
And so I feel like that's just experience.
I feel like Rum still does well.
If you use EOS properly and get off that what's the one? Fey
Whispering Dawn.
Illumination
Buff.
for the healing buff into a Whispering Dawn, and then use Indom on the Enkindle and Death Flare. I haven't experienced it myself and like calculated the potency or whatever to see if that would be the same as like a Medica and an Assize, but I feel like with Focal up that would counter Summoner Burst
Well,
better than
actually,
a Knocked Astro anyway.
I agree. I definitely agree that's better than Knocked Astro. But it's not even the burst. It's just the fact that Bane over time will wear down the Scholar faster than other healers. Other healers have regens and Medica 2 and whatever. Scholar just has to cast Sucker or
Yeah.
Adloquium on the Bane targets.
I mean, I think that's kind of what the fairy is for. Like, if you're properly micromanaging your fairy is
can't-
healing into those people, but it's just a lot of
It's
mechanics.
not just the problem with PvP though. It's not just the fairy because people aren't in set positions. Like if you want your Eos to heal the guy that's running around the fucking pillar, it's just not gonna happen. Eos is just gonna reset the cast like every second.
I think another thing that they got taken away that I would love to have them back is Miasma should have its slow back. I don't know why it
They should
doesn't.
just bring back Cleric Stance. Just bring back
No, please don't.
Scholars would be great.
See,
Like
here's what I
Miasma
think.
lost its slow, but every other healer has a slow. I don't know why Scholar doesn't get the slow back.
I agree. I think it should be put on Miasma too, not Miasma.
Yeah, either one.
That would be some fun utility for both of the Arcanist jobs. But okay, so these are sort of ridiculous, more fun ideas I have. Well, the first one's a little bit more practical. So to solve the Aetherflow issue, what I would do is add a PvP ability, right? And it would be the purpose of it would be, or the goal of it would be to add active Aetherflow stack management. So say you have something that has like it's an ability OGCD that has maybe a 30-second cooldown. And when you press it, all it does is restore a little bit of MP and gives you one Aetherflow stack. Do you think that would be sufficient to solve the problem?
I think even without the PvP ability, spawning with one Aetherflow stack and a fairy would vastly increase Scholar's viability.
Yeah, having to stand there for 7 extra seconds for your fairy is just it's so punishing.
So I mean the idea of having one Aetherflow stack either through PvP ability or respawning with it, something like that probably needs to happen in order for Scholar to be viable.
See,
I also
that thing
think
too. I feel like in general, Etheric Burst is really weak. Even if you gave it
Every
down for the
healer
count,
needs to get rid of it.
even if, or sorry, not
Oh,
Etheric
Aura
Burst,
Blast.
Aura
Sorry,
Blast.
yeah.
I think it's really weak. Even if you give it down for the count, I think it's still worse than the other two abilities. I mean, I don't think anything can compare to Sacred Prism,
Yeah,
but
Sacred Prism is
I'm thinking of
bonkers.
like this fun idea, right? So have you guys ever played Overwatch? Do you know
Yeah.
the character Torbjorn? So what if you used an ability, right? And it's sort of like dissipation in terms of like functionality, where you use this ability and it's like, or no, it's more like Rouse and Spur, right? Like you just buff the hell out of Eos, Celine gets summoned too, right? They just turret in place, they get huge, like their models grow big, they're glowing and shit, and they're just firing off embraces, and like they pop all their buffs even if they're on cooldown, just like all of them all at once, and like it increases the healing of your pets by like 200% for like however many seconds, like 20 seconds, and it's just like a massive healing cooldown.
I mean,
I think that'd be cool.
If they made a Scholar cooldown, PvP cooldown was just a second Rouse or a buffed Rouse, that would be really sick. Like that would be a really
Yeah,
strong
like
cooldown.
what if it like doubled all the times on your fairy abilities?
Yeah, you made them cast faster. Like that would be sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would need Embrace to cast faster for it to be useful.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
If you made Embrace cast 50% faster for 15 seconds, that'd be like a really powerful healing steroid. That'd be like Divine Seal, basically.
I also think it'd be cool if that one AOS ability actually worked in PvP that gave 20% magic defense, but defense doesn't work, so
That'd be ridiculous
it's
if you stacked it
useless.
with Focal though.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. It'd help the summoner problem.
Yeah, I mean it would help with some counter picks, right? So like if there's a really good magic team, then the
Yeah, like a
would
Dark
be
Knight
counter.
summoner, then you can go Scholar. Yeah,
Yeah, whereas White Mage is the bane of existence. to
anti-physical
melee, yeah.
team. Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah,
I think
hopefully like a magic DPS ends up in there, and we can get like have more interesting comps. Like Red Mage just makes comps more interesting, and they like kind of make the jobs be like pick ban jobs almost rather than like
I
just
can't wait for
whatever.
Glorious Samurai to be overpowered. I want to kill people with Bushido.
I don't know. I don't. The 3.0 launch classes were all super underpowered, weren't they?
In PvP, they were all
Yeah.
broken.
Oh yeah,
except for
Machinist
Dark
was
Knight.
super broken. I
Yeah.
forgot, and so was Dark Knight.
Astro.
Oh yeah, Astro. How can I forget about
Yeah.
Nox Shields? What
Yeah,
the hell?
Seal
Yeah, that
Rock,
was
you can have
stupid.
like 8 people following you,
It's
get LB
cancer.
twice. Like it doesn't matter, dude. Just press suspected benefic.
I mean, they were busted in PvP. Maybe not Dark Knight, but Machinist and Astro were disgusting.
Yeah. I forgot about how stupid Astro was, just getting chased by like 8 people at once in Seal Rock.
And that actually, Machinist is better now than it used to be, but it was still broken before, even with
Yeah.
like the ammo timers and everything. But all right, I think we've pretty much covered everything. Gone off on a couple tangents. We are 40 minutes over the time that I
Right.
wanted it to be, but
Yeah.
it happens. So I think this is a good spot to wrap up. I just wanted to thank you guys both for coming and doing this. Again,
It was
Egg,
really
if you're
fun.
watching, I'm sorry you couldn't make it, man. Internet problems suck, but we'll get you on again. I don't know. Do you
Yeah,
guys have any
thanks.
shout outs
Thanks.
or anything you want to say?
No,
Thanks for having us. Shout
for
out to
chatting.
EU. I'm sorry Egg wasn't here. I come to your Discord channel all the time to hang out, so you guys are cool.
If anyone's listening and not in the Team Tryhard Discord, that'd be a good place to start your PvP adventures.
Yes, I mean, if one of my mods, or I guess I can do it in a second, if you want to get into PvP, definitely a good place to start is the Team Tryhard Discord. Come check it out. If you have a question, I highly advise that you post it in the meta channel instead of your server channel, because if you post in the server channel, it'll probably get drowned out by memes. Another place to go if you're getting into PvP would be pvpaisa.com. It's one of the sites that I contribute to. It's got a lot of guides on there. We want more guides on there. If you want to contribute guides specifically for a job or a role in PvP, please get in touch with me or somebody else on the site because we need some more content. But yeah, I think that's good. So once again, thank you guys for coming out. And next
Yeah, thanks
episode
for
is going to
having
be
me.
in about 2 weeks. Thank you.